Well, hey friends, welcome back. I am about ready to share with you a dirty secret. It's not really a dirty secret. It's just an area of my garden that I started a couple years ago and was glorious the first year. And then the second year, life happened and this entire area got away from me. So here's the long short story, or the short long story, however you want to look at it. I started a cut flower garden 2 years ago. And my first year that it was growing, it was beautiful. And it brought me so much love and so much enjoyment and all of those good things. The next year, so 2 years ago, my family was greeted with a sudden cancer diagnosis of my dad. And long story short, we lost him 7 weeks later. And that all happened in the spring. And I literally did not have any kind of joy and spark left to come down in the cut flower garden. It just felt depressing. I was facing blackberries. I was facing masses of bindweed. And I just didn't have the strength to kind of suffer that loss and then come down here and just reach inside for the grit and determination and resilience to keep after all of the weeds. So this year, I'm going to reclaim this space. And I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's actually going to be a lot of work. But at the end of the day, having a cut flower garden really brought me so much joy. So I'm going to reclaim it. And today, we're starting that journey with the dahlia row. So I'm going to take you on a journey. I'm going to dig up a ton of the dahlias that I have planted here. Some of them didn't perform as well last year as I wanted them to. And I think it's because it is like high time they get divided. So I'm going to dig everything up and I'm going to do some dividing. And we're just going to assess what I've got going on here. And we're going to get off to the races. We're going to start fresh. Here we go. Okay, my friends, go gentle on me. This is very hard to show on the internet, but here she is. So this is the space that was once my cut flower garden, and it was stunning and glorious. But we have massive, massive weed pressure. And in fact, the only thing that has remained great is that row over there, way over there, where I did the cardboard sheet mulching. So essentially, this is what we have. We had essentially like 2 rows of dahlias. Then we had a row of gladiolas. I had a few more dahlias in here, but then this was also where I put all of my zinnias. The next row over was my snapdragons. And then we had 2 last rows where I had all of my rudbeckia and my asters. And it was awesome. So I'm going to try not to cry as I dig into this. But we're going to start here today. And I'm just going to give myself kindness and grace because sometimes life gets tough. But I'm showing you guys this because I want you to see someone who makes mistakes and sometimes is overwhelmed, but gets back up and tries again anyways. So I'm going to start here and I'm just going to go slow and steady, and eventually I'm going to get there. I'm just going to have a lot of faith as I go. So let's jump in. All right, my friends, I am going to give myself a few things to get accomplished today. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this fabric. It's going. It doesn't serve anything. We're getting it out of here. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cardboard mulch this row again. It's worked really well in my climate. I know it works. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm getting rid of this. And I'm going to mow down all of the weeds that are in place. But I am actually going to I'm probably going to edge this and bring this grass back in because it's just gone bananas. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling up my dahlias. So this one, for example, this is autumn orange, and it's been in the ground for a couple years. I don't necessarily need to remove my dahlias because we have relatively mild winters, and I have really sandy soil. So it doesn't hold a lot of moisture, which is a challenge, but also kind of a blessing because it means that my dahlia tubers aren't going to rot. I do lose some, but like not that much. So I am just going to give myself those two things to do today. And like I said, we're just going to start putting one foot in front of the other and get going on this race. Okay, so kind of good news and bad news. I actually kind of like the grass between the rows. My partner does not, so we're gonna agree to disagree there. But also, I've got this whole situation. This is just the tip of the iceberg. This property was so overrun with bindweed and blackberry when we first moved here. And it has just continued to be something that we struggle with every single year to no avail. And I mean, I can't even tell you how many loads we've taken to the dump of just pure blackberries and bindweed. It is bananas. So anyways, the battle continues. But I gotta like chin up. We're off to the races. It's already happening. So off we go. I'm gonna try not to get too obsessive with pulling every little last thing because I need to remember that when you're dealing with an invasive, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So I'm gonna remove what I can today. I'm gonna stay focused on pulling up all of my dahlias and getting ready to divide them. And I'll take the rest as it comes. But if you kind of look in here, you can kind of see what I'm dealing with. It's like, well, first of all, these are all the magnolia leaves from this beautiful magnolia next door. But it just like, I mean, my goodness, look at this. It is just everywhere, choking out every little last inch of space. And no matter how hard I pull, just more appears. So it really is an uphill battle. Okay, so if you'll notice, when I dug this up, I'm not going too crazy, right? I'm giving it a wide berth because what I don't want to do is I don't want to snap any of the little tubers that are in here. Because when you look at a tuber and you're wanting it to grow into a dahlia, you need to have three things together. You need to have the tuber, and then you need the neck, and you also need an eye on the tip. So I don't want to break any of those tubers because then I'm not going to have a good dahlia division. Interesting. So this one is actually not a super healthy clump. So these ones, these little guys are kind of yucky looking. So this dahlia may be a goner actually. So this one is actually a little bit squishy. I don't know if we're gonna get a dahlia out of this guy. But essentially, this is our tuber. And here's where the old stem was. Here's the tuber. This is kind of the neck, and I should have a growth point here. I'm gonna take a look at it. I can always snip these bottoms off. You don't really need them. But I'm gonna take a peek at this after I wash it off and see if I can save it. We'll see. We'll see. All right, so this is a much better example of what I should be seeing when I dig these up. You can see this is the old growth from last year. This is a healthy clump of tubers right here. In fact, this is a healthy clump of tubers, and a lot of times, like sometimes you'll have one squishy one. This is probably from last year, so I'm just going to remove this guy. But first, I'm going to spray these off once I have everything kind of pulled up here, and I'm just going to see what we're working with. But this is a much better representation of what you're going to be digging up and seeing. Sometimes when you're digging up dahlias, you'll accidentally bust off one. This little guy, it has the tuber part, but see that's a broken neck. So I'm just going to pitch this because it'll never become a dahlia. Okay, I'm going to show you just 2 more examples here of healthier clumps, okay? So these ones, I might just put back into the ground because they really only have a couple tubers on each, but it's good to know. I'm praying this next one comes up without damage because it was one of the only ones I planted last year. Oh, yes. Oh, thank God my Robin Hood survived. And looks like I might have 3 plants. Man, this sucks. Some of these are just gone. Whoa. That's crazy. I thought that dahlia was dead. Okay, so here we are. I was able to dig out quite a few dahlia clumps, and I've kind of positioned them all together. Some of them are definitely not looking great, and then others are looking awesome. I mean, like, for example, this Franz Kafka one, so many tubers on this guy. And then, oh my gosh. Ooh, Joey Winnie. This is going to be a hot mess to divide. Yoish. And then I also have a mega. I have actually a ton of tubers that I think I'm going to be able to divide and use here. I did have a loss, Coralie, R.I.P. That was so freaking sad. It was so pretty. So that one I just turned it around because it's no longer in existence. But over here, this is Rock Run Ashley, and I have a few of her tubers that I'm going to be able to plant, and hopefully they will bloom for me this year. So it's after 5 o'clock. I'm going to switch back into family mode, but I do think I got a lot accomplished. It was just 1 row, but I got over 25 dahlias dug, and probably tomorrow after they've kind of sat out for a minute, I'll be able to dry them and spray them off, dry them, and then begin the process of dividing. I did have some losses, which is kind of a bummer, but I also have some amazing tubers that are resilient and ready for another season of growth. So I'm excited about that. And anyways, I do have a little bit of fear posting something very unpolished, very unpretty on the internet. But at the same time, this is real life. Sometimes things get away from us, especially in periods of loss and grief, and that's okay. So I hope you've enjoyed me getting back on the horse. We're getting back on the horse, and we're gonna try again, and I'm really looking forward to creating something beautiful back here. So I hope you will stay tuned, and if you are experiencing grief and loss, my heart is with you. I hope you have a chance to do some healing and say hello to your garden for me. It's a great place.